Okay, I just got done watching the director's cut of Rocky 4, literally right after watching the original cut of the movie, and how is it that the director was able to take his own product and turn out something that ultimately was inferior to the original? Like, what the heck? Because Stallone, he wrote every single Rocky movie. He directed four of them and wrote and directed the very first Expendables movie. So Stallone is no stranger to knowing what it takes to create a film from the ground up. Now, I haven't seen both cuts of the first Expendables back to back. I'm going to have to do that at some point. But how the hell did he turn out a product that, in my mind, just had so many problems? Like, what the hell? Because it watching the original cut of the movie, okay, it flowed, okay? Just like everything went perfectly from one scene to the next. Yes, there's a whole lot of fast cuts in the fight scene, or other little bits of situations, because, like, when Apollo receives the final blow to the head, and then you're seeing him fall to the ground, and everyone else's emotional reaction, along with the bloody towel hitting the ground, it all perfectly goes from one shot to the next. In this new version of the movie, everything feels a lot more jarred. And this is not me going about, hey, you're too strongly attached to the original and stuff. There were things that were different in this movie that, had they done that in the original, I wouldn't have complained, because in this movie, rather than getting a little bit to introduce Rocky in the present, it starts off with Apollo playing with his dogs in the pool, hearing Draco coming to America, and then you see him going over to Rocky's house. Well, he's at Rocky's house, and they're chatting in a conversation that isn't in the original cut about what they're going to do. Rocky even states, "They approached me and I don't think I'm going to do anything." He doesn't actually say that, but that's the effect of what he said. Had that been in the original cut, nothing wrong with that. And here's the thing, on a critique scale, that opening actually makes more sense given the tone of the movie. Because that's the thing about Rocky 4 that was always different in my mind about all the other Rocky movies. The fact that this movie is just a revenge movie. Like, the person that actually experiences the most development in this movie is Adrian. Rocky, he just agrees to help train Apollo to fight Draco, and then after Draco kills Apollo, Rocky decides, okay, I'm going to fight you. It's Adrian that actually goes through a progression of emotions and all that stuff. Rocky, nothing happens to him other than losing a friend. Not to say that that isn't a powerful thing, based on what I've heard of people who said that they have lost a friend. I haven't, but COVID, right. But I'm okay with things being different, but if you really compare those two scenes of Apollo falling to the ground, the original cut, that scene flowed. Everything was good. In this cut of the movie, it was just jarring, going from one thing to the next, just ultra fast. And not only that, you can tell that some of Stallone's editing, because apparently he was the one that approved most of the edits, and maybe he did some of the work, I don't know. I didn't watch the making of video that is supposedly out there. I didn't look into it that much. I just wanted this to be about my raw feelings about the director's cut. I'll look into other people's opinions and that making of thing after I've recorded this. But just his editing, again, it just jumps. It doesn't feel right. And then you compare the Hearts on Fire training sequence, especially at the point where you see Drago hitting those progressively higher punching numbers, and then you see Stallone picking up part of the what do you call that? The thing that you would kind of expect oxen to pull or something. I really have no clue what you call that contraption that Duke, Paulie, and Adrian are all sitting in. But like in the movie, all the shots are original cuts. All of the shots are perfectly timed to go along with the score of Hearts on Fire, and then you just feel it. And the build up to Rocky doing that sprint all the way up the mountain, again, it goes along with the score. But in this cut, they do this odd mixture where they only put parts of the song in there, but some of the training sequences have been removed or altered such that between those two things in combination, the training sequence is no longer playing in conjunction to the score that's in the background. Now, it wouldn't be such a big deal if all of the score in the background was instrumental, because if Stallone wanted to go for a different score in the background, well, he's perfectly free to do that, because I can't remember off the top of my head if Eye of the Tiger played at the end of the movie in the original cut. If it did, whatever. But yeah, if he had wanted to do a different score in the background, that's okay, but doing little bits of combination of the original score and then phasing it out, because when Rocky starts that sprint up the mountain, you can hear a tiny, tiny bit of that original score going on in the background, but it no longer suits the scene. In the original, everything just flowed just perfectly in that regard. And it isn't just during the high, fast-paced parts of the movie where this editing doesn't flow, because, the transitioning from, the press conference before the fight to the actual fight, it didn't feel that great either. And then the announcers talking about things before the fight, so much of that dialogue seems to be removed that it's like, why are these announcer guys still even in this cut? Because Drago getting cut in the original, the scene had a moment where the tone and background music all changed, because you're like, oh man, Rocky got one in there. And they're clearly trying to do that in the director's cut, but it didn't work. And it's not because it's not smooth, it's because of just the new feel of the movie has removed that. And also, based on how things in the movie have changed, one of the pivotal moments in the movie actually barely has any emotional impact anymore, because in the original cut, after Rocky holds the press conference confirming that he's going to fight Drago in Russia, and then you also see the press trying to talk to Adrian and overwhelming her, Rocky returns home to his house, and then he and Adrian have the argument of, he can't win. He then leaves the house again, and then you have that song playing in the background, and then he goes to Russia. So, if I'm recalling correctly, it's possible that there's another scene in there that I'm forgetting. It could be. But in this version, all that stuff happens, but then you have a couple more scenes of him at his house where Rocky is talking to his son, and his son's asking him if he's scared, and then Adrian, later on in the scene, walks up to Rocky, hugs him, and goes, "I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go." Well, then fast forward to her appearing in Russia, and she has a couple other bits of dialogue that aren't in the original cut, which is like, "I can't stay away anymore. I'm here no matter what happens." And I'm just looking at that going, oh my god. This isn't powerful. This is the equivalent of wife running to somebody that isn't good for her. Now, I know that I'm stretching the parallel. I know I'm stretching the parallel. But it felt a lot like that. Just like all the emotional impact of that scene is gone. Her just showing up in the original cut unannounced with the last interaction being an argument, and then she says, "I'm by your side no matter what happens." You don't need to hear anymore. You know that she thought about it and made the decision to go there on her own, leaving their son behind. Again, because I don't think he went to LA with them in the third movie, so, huh? Just what's up with that? My god. Now, not every bit of this new cut is bad, okay? Because if you watch the original trailer for this movie, there are two big things in there that stand out as not being in the original cut of the movie, because they aren't. There's this line by somebody who we never see. He, meaning Draco, has had one professional fight and one man is dead. Then the other scene is Rocky standing in front of a mirror, and then you see that he's hung a cut newspaper clipping of Drago in the mirror. Neither of those scenes are in the original cut of the movie. They're in this one. Having that extra scene with Rocky talking to the Fighter Guild board members, for lack of a better term, and having that little bit before it's announced that he gives up the title, that is appropriate, because just having the way that they announce Rocky giving up the title in the original cut of the movie, it's so fast, most people will miss it. So having that little bit of build-up, even though it isn't stated explicitly in there that they're talking about the title, it's better than having Rocky doing it in front of the mirror. That's a powerful moment for an art movie. I know that this isn't really an art movie, like the first one could easily be called an art movie in comparison to this one, but just but yeah, those scenes were nice. Little added bits of Duke interacting with Rocky, that's nice, because even when I was watching these movies blind for the first time, I was able to pick up, hey, this guy's in every movie. He's a minor character, and yet he happens to be in every movie, so getting little bits with him there, that's nice. And him having the comment that he sort of raised Apollo, that made me realize, oh yeah, because that guy is noticeably older than Apollo. Why didn't I think of that? You've got the mentor story going on for Apollo as well. Why didn't I think of that? That's nice. And I do applaud Stallone for, at least trying to make things different in this movie, because, little different bits of the training, trying to alter the beginning so that it's even more specifically a revenge movie. I don't think that those were bad ideas, but the way that it was executed, it felt a little sloppy, and unfortunately makes the movie seem even less like the other Rocky movies, because removing the little bits at the beginning where Rocky is interacting with his family, that, along with the moments where Rocky is clearly having a conversation with himself in his mind, it makes this movie seem more like a generic revenge movie versus a Rocky movie, because it was always more than Rocky just being in the ring. It's about Rocky dealing with stuff outside of the ring, loosely modeling Stallone's real life circumstances in quite a few ways. So, yeah, just yeah. So it's not, oh my god, all bad, because it is an interesting discussion topic, and if you eliminate all other Rocky movies, which is really hard to do given how even in the title of this one they have the Roman numerals for 4 there. If you eliminate all the rest, then I'd say that this cut does work better, but it's just really, again, it just astounds me at how the original director decided he would alter the product, and he turned out something that I felt like was definitely inferior. Now, there are, again, little bits in there that are good, but I really do not think, other than those little bits that I've been mentioning, that I'm likely to ever watch this cut of the movie again. I'm probably going to keep it downloaded, though, because it's something out there that, people should have access to, because it is a legitimate thing. And all that jazz. Stallone approved of it. Heck, he conceived it. So, Right. And no, I'm not somebody who argues that Stallone was great in his prime and that he has sucked in more recent years. Although, that being said, what little I watched of Escape Plan 2 did not give me any great feelings to watching the third one, because I actually was really surprised at how much that I did like that first one, and I did enjoy Expendables 2 and bits of Expendables 3, and I'm really hoping that they still come out with the fourth one, but given how long it took to get Stallone, and by extension Arnold, to come back, and then COVID happening, I don't know. We'll see about that, and I haven't watched any of the Rambo movies besides the first one, and it's been so long since I've seen it, I remember, like, nothing from it. All I can tell you, basically the whole plot of the movie, okay, but the individual moments, don't remember it. I don't. So I'm not a Stallone hater, I'm just rather disappointed by this, especially since if you're just focusing on the Rocky movies, this one has always been my this has always been ranked 5th out of 6 Rocky movies. The only one being worse than this being the 5th, but at least the 5th one, it tried to do the original formula, it just sucked at it. This, it's just a revenge movie, as I've said over and over again. So sorry that these last few minutes of the video have been on me rambling, but hope that this was entertaining for you.